I was just really confused. I was really confused about the feelings that I had. Like, I like this girl, but at the same time I don't. And maybe I like her so much that it makes me not want to like her because I'm afraid that I like her.
Can I get your name and where you're from, if you don't mind?
I'm Kai.
Kai, can I get spelling for you, buddy?
Straight out of Dogtown, K-A-I.
Hola Chula, thank you so much for clicking onto this video, and if you are new here, well then, hi, hello, my name is Kai, and if you're coming back to my channel, well then, it's great to see you, babe. Here on my channel, I like to share my experience as a person who has left the Jehovah's Witnesses organization and what it was like to grow up in a high-control Christian cult. I am so nervous to talk about this for some reason. This is a topic that has been on my mind for quite some time now. I really wanted to sort of think about it, ponder it, how do I really want to do this? So let's go! So, I don't think that it comes as any sort of surprise to anyone that in a high control or just fundamentalist Christian religion, that being queer, being gay, bisexual, trans, you're definitely not going to have the greatest time in those spaces, to say the very least. And in fact, there is a certain group of people who seem to be amassing by the year that are very outrightly against people with different sexualities, different genders than cis and straight. And yeah, it's like been a whole big deal for a long time now. I guess I just want to talk about what it is actually like to grow up being queer and also being a Jehovah's Witness, and I have no doubt that I am not the only one. I know that there have to be thousands of us out there, and probably some that are still in and facing all of the challenges that we all had to face and feeling all of those same feelings. So let's just talk about it. You know, why am I being this way? Long story short, could end the video right here. I am a bisexual person, which to me means that I am interested and attracted to people who identify as male and people who identify as female. I know that some other people have their different definitions of what it means to be bisexual to them, so I'm not coming at them. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that this is what it means to me. It took me a long time to actually be able to say that out loud, and I've attempted to come out a few times, and then immediately I was like, nope, delete, archive, keep it in the drafts, no one can ever see this. I knew that I liked girls sort of before I ever knew that I liked boys, and I remember having some experiences as a young kid, you know, kids being kids, I guess, that, I don't know, that always stuck with me, because after our parents had found out about what happened, we were both reprimanded so extremely. I remember my mom like really being upset with me and like really, you know, trying to tell me like what I did was wrong and that I wasn't supposed to do that until I was older and married to a man. It was still something that I was incredibly curious about, but I tried my best to sort of distance myself from those feelings just because I knew, like, in their perspective, it was a sin. And back then, I was really trying not to sin, so I just hated myself instead. I felt like it would have been dangerous to actually be honest and open about that. Like, I would have just been opening a whole can of worms that I didn't really ask for. And so it just wasn't safe ever to actually express these feelings that I was having. So that led me to just sort of force myself to force myself not to feel that way. And eventually over time, it just became like a default for me to be interested in men, because even if it was still improper at the time, I figured at least it was like a degree less improper. But then I met someone who kind of reminded me of all of these feelings that I had when I was younger. I don't really want to give away this whole girl's, her whole life, right? But I was 12, she was a little bit older than me, and we were best friends. And I loved her so much. But I didn't realize that the love I had for her was more than just like this, how I love my best friend, right? It was something a little different than that. And I never really had the language to accept or understand that feeling. I just knew that I was incredibly drawn to her and I cared so deeply for her. I would have done anything for her. I was really out here simping in service. I don't know if she ever realized that I felt that way because she was a little bit older. Maybe she saw it and I didn't realize that she did, or maybe something happened to her, but she just sort of pretended that I wasn't there anymore. Just randomly, just one day, she just stopped talking to me, and I never understood why, and obviously it broke my heart. After that, I had a lot of apprehension when it came to coming to be that close to someone again, and I started sort of being very cold, very aloof of other girls from that point on, and I really became someone who was like, I just can't be friends with girls because girls like drama and I don't do drama. Even though I totally do. That's literally why I started my channel. But yeah, I really became one of those bitches. I just went totally full swing the opposite way and I felt super uncomfortable around women. I was just really confused. I was really confused about the feelings that I had. Like, I like this girl, but at the same time I don't. And maybe I like her so much that it makes me not want to like her because I'm afraid that I like her. Even still to this day, I feel just a little bit uncomfortable around women, especially women my age. But the fucked up part about that is that I desperately crave feminine beings to be in my life. I am constantly wanting that. I keep telling myself that I need to go and manifest that, but I just get this wall in my mind. I think it's a self-preservation mechanism that, at least in my experience, I felt I had to develop to prevent myself from ever accidentally being in that situation again with, this girl that I loved, but I wouldn't have ever been able to do anything about that, even if I could even say it, even if I could even understand it. You can just admit that some girl broke your heart. You don't have to be a misogynist. So I went through this whole phase of denying this part about me, even though I think I secretly was aware of it. Then I got into high school. And I don't know why, but my parents let me be relatively involved in the theater program. And I don't mean to be crass, but you will never find a group of people that are more sexually liberated than those who are devoted to the theater. Jeez. Yeah, so I was on a trip and there were no teachers and no parents, and it was just a whole group of us hanging out. And I think somebody asked me if I'd ever kissed a girl before, and I was like, no, I haven't. And then they were like, well, do you want to? And I was like, yes, I do. I kissed a girl and I did. And it just instantly confirmed all of these feelings that I think, like I said, I think I knew. I think I have always known about myself, but I was petrified. I came to the conclusion that I was bisexual a long time ago, but I have never really been able to be super vocal or super out loud about that. Not necessarily because the circle of people that I sort of operate in wouldn't be accepting of that, but it's more It's definitely more my family. It's definitely more my very Jehovah's Witnesses family. I feel like I would be incapable of coming to my family and being like, this is a woman that I love. It's already sort of weird enough when I come home with a man. And so I literally can't even fathom what would happen, what they would say. And I know that I shouldn't live my life like always in fear of what other people think of me, especially my parents who have been indoctrinated to think that being gay is disgusting and sinful. Even if it's like not something that I'll ever like want to pursue or want to explore a little bit more, I still think it's good that I'm able to be open about that, to be proud about that, and not to sort of live in this cloud of shame and self-denial. And it's pretty obvious that Watchtower really wants to put it into your mind that being gay is wrong and immoral, and gay people are going to be destroyed by Jehovah in the Great Tribulation. I was routinely made to read through publications that would reinforce this idea in my mind that there is something inherently wrong about being anything other than straight. I decided that we would revisit some of these old Young People Ask articles, which, if you're new here, the Young People Ask book is basically a guidebook giving teenagers and kids advice from the Bible. And it's really bad. It's really bad advice. And it's really repressive and homophobic, wouldn't you know? So, yeah, let's take a look at that. This is like the first section in this book. The first section is about sex and all of the reasons that sex is wrong and bad and evil.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die.
This chapter is called Homosexuality. How can I avoid it? When I was 12, I was attracted to a girl at school. I was confused and worried that I might be a lesbian. During my teens, I struggled with an attraction to other males. Deep down, I knew those thoughts weren't normal. My girlfriend and I kissed once or twice. Since I still liked boys, I wondered if I might be bisexual. These are totally real kids, by the way. Today's tolerant attitudes have prompted a number of youths to experiment with same-sex relationships. Many girls in my school claim to be either lesbian, bisexual, or bi-curious, says 15-year-old Becky. Krista, 18, finds the situation similar at her school. 2 classmates have actually propositioned me, she says. One wrote me a note asking if I wanted to see what it was like to be with a girl. With same-sex relationships being flaunted so openly, you may wonder, is homosexuality really that bad? What if I'm attracted to someone of my sex? Does that mean I'm gay?
I'm gay!
I think that that's relatively normal to experiment with your sexuality throughout your lifetime, and sexuality can be fluid throughout your lifetime as well. You might go through different phases, and that's totally fine. So, I mean, there's not really something inherently wrong with what they're saying, but it's how they're saying it. I mean, the title of this section is, How Can I Avoid It? Like, being gay is something that you can catch. We saw words like worried and not normal. So that's already setting the stage. There's no room to even question that. So the next section is called, How Does God View Homosexuality? Like anybody even asked. Today, many people, even some clergymen, which, okay, if you don't know what a clergyman is, it's like a religious position, like a priest or a pastor. Even some clergymen soft pedal the issue of homosexuality. Yet the Bible leaves no room for confusion. It tells us that Jehovah God made man and woman, and that he proposed for sexual desires to be fulfilled only between husband and wife. It comes as no surprise, then, that the Bible condemns homosexual acts. Of course, many would say that the Bible is out of date. For example, 14-year-old Megan asserts, "Some of the things stated in the Bible have no place in today's world." But why are some so quick to make that claim? Often it is because the Bible's view conflicts with their own. They reject God's word because it teaches something different from what they want to believe. That view is biased, and the Bible encourages us to rise above such close I can't even believe they said this. The Bible encourages us to rise above such closed-minded thinking. Oh my God, the call is coming from inside the house. In fact, in his word, Jehovah God urges us to consider the fact that his commandments are for our good. That is reasonable. After all, who knows our human makeup better than our Creator? It should be apparent by now that Watchtower's teachings are not that far off from what we see in these evangelical, socially conservative, right-wing fundamentalist churches. They're saying basically the same things. They're hitting all the same talking points. They're saying without saying that being gay is actually a choice that a person makes. Somehow they decide, even when it's like clear that being gay, being trans, being bisexual, lesbian, anything outside of the normal, you're criticized and sometimes killed, sometimes, bullied and harassed so much that you do something to yourself. So why anyone would choose to be persecuted, to be when they know what the reality of that life would be? Why would anyone choose that? I mean, we just see that kind of radical thinking really rising up to the surface, but maybe more now than ever, maybe just because they do have a bigger platform and a bigger voice, they're able to say all these vitriolic things that for whatever reason they want to say, most likely because they're following this to a T and saying that it's correct. And you know what did they say? I thought it was so hilarious, actually. Okay, so they reject God's word because it teaches something different from what they want to believe. There's no difference in you saying that this is right, because all that this is what you want to believe. You're asserting that this is the only way that you can live your life. And that's simply not true. Moving on. As a young person, you may be experiencing a variety of emotions. What if you feel attracted to a member of the same sex? Does this automatically mean that you are a homosexual? No. Remember, you are in the bloom of youth. I hate that. I have always hated that. That is so creepy, so disturbing. Don't tell me I'm in the bloom of anything. A period in which you are subject to involuntary sexual arousal. Okay. For a time, your attention may focus on a member of the same sex, but having such an attraction does not mean that you are gay. In fact, statistics indicate that such inclinations usually fade in time. Still, you might wonder, how do these desires start in the first place? Some say that homosexuality is rooted in the genes. Others say it is a learned behavior. It is not the purpose of this article to delve into the nature versus nurture debate. Cowards. Indeed, it seems that it would be a gross oversimplification to attribute homosexuality to a single cause. Homosexuality, much like other forms of behavior, appears to be far more complex than that. I think that the only people complicating this matter are those that have an anti-gay agenda. Regardless of the cause, the important thing to realize is that the Bible condemns homosexual acts. Thus, the person who is struggling with same-sex desires is presented with a reachable goal. He or she can choose not to act on those desires. To illustrate, a person might be disposed to rage. In the past, he may have freely given in to fits of anger. After studying the Bible, though, he becomes aware of the need to develop self-control. Does this mean that he will never again feel anger welling up inside him? No. However, because he knows what the Bible says about uncontrolled anger, he refuses to succumb to his feelings. It is similar with a person who has felt attracted to others of the same sex, but who has now come to learn what the Bible says about homosexual practices. On occasion, an improper desire may still present itself. Nevertheless, by heeding the counsel of the Bible, the person can refrain from acting on that desire. It's shocking that conversion therapy is still happening in our modern day, and that people really still believe that it works. And that cannot be born from any other place than a place of pure hatred. Like, if you're willing to torture someone to try to get the gay out of them, then you're a hateful person. Does Watchtower implement or advocate for that extreme sort of conversion therapy? No, not necessarily, not that I can tell, at least, but what they do have is an incredibly watered down version of that, which I think gives the same effect at the end of the day. Having a deep and intense hatred for yourself and over these feelings that you feel you have to control somehow, but that ultimately you don't have any control over. So, what's Watchtower's advice for rejecting these wrong practices? How can you keep from getting involved in homosexual practices? First, throw all your anxieties upon Jehovah in prayer, confident that He cares for you. Jehovah can fortify you with a peace that excels all thought. This can guard your heart and your mental powers and give you power beyond what is normal to keep from acting on wrong desires. Sarah, who struggled with the motherfucking fear that she might be bisexual, says, "Whenever my thoughts disturb me, I pray, and Jehovah sustains me. Without His help, I couldn't have dealt with this problem." Second, fill your mind with upbuilding spiritual thoughts. Read the Bible daily. Never underestimate its power to shape your mind and heart for good. A young man named Jason says, "The Bible, including scriptures such as 1 Corinthians 6:9-10 and Ephesians 5:3, has had a powerful effect on me. I read these scriptures whenever wrong desires occur." Third, shun pornography and gay propaganda, which will only fuel wrong thoughts. Some motion pictures and television just say movies. Why can't you just say movies? Some motion pictures, and you know what? Fuck you. I'm saying movies. Some movies and television programs also foster the belief that homosexuality is nothing more than a so-called alternative lifestyle. The world's warped thinking affected my mind and added to my sexual confusion, says Anna. Now I steer clear of anything or anyone that promotes homosexuality. And then they say you should get a buddy, an accountability, so that you don't slip up and accidentally commit a gay. They round it out by saying that some people are going to say that you were just born this way and you can't fight your feelings, you can't change who you are, and Watchtower says you should be better than that. As if loving and accepting yourself is such a horrible thing to be. But I guess in their eyes, yeah, probably is. But I do sort of love this way that they see the world, in a way, being so open and so accepting of people's life, you know, just saying actually what is wrong with that. As time has progressed, we have become more open and accepting of people of different sexualities, different genders, like just in general, people who have different experiences than us. And I love that. I love that. I wouldn't want to go back to that life of denying myself, denying the real feelings that I've always known that I've had. To be instead like this fake person, always ashamed and always hating myself. And I'd be remiss to not point out how devastating the effects of propaganda like this, messaging like this, does to the psyche. And in fact, people who are LGBTQ+ are at higher risk for mental illness, depression, anxiety, and also at higher risk for suicide. The number one contributor to those problems are having an unsupportive and unloving family. From like not having anyone in their immediate support group accept them for who they are. And even if there is one person who is accepting of them, it drastically improves their outcomes and trajectories. And I always think it's really funny when these types of groups assert that being gay, being trans is a mental illness and it's not natural, when since 1999 we have confirmed that over 400 species of animals and wildlife regularly engage in same-sex behaviors. If we're playing the same game, if we're playing by the same rules and saying that yes, Jehovah did indeed create everyone and everything, then why would he create animals that have same-sex tendencies? Is that a mistake? Are those animals choosing to be gay, to be bi? I guess they would say that animals are not held to the same biblical standards as humans. And even if that was true, why would God put it in nature if it's unnatural? If it's not from him, if it's something from the world, and it's a symbol of how depraved we truly have become as a society. Why is it occurring in groups of species that don't even have all this fuckery that we have to deal with? It's impossible for them to choose to live a debaucherous lifestyle. They have no concept of what is right and what is wrong, what is a sin, what is not a sin. So I just don't know. I just don't know how I can circle that square, if you know what I'm saying. And I think that would be a question that you should genuinely ask yourself if for whatever reason you're on my channel and you think that being gay is wrong. But it's just the same old, right? I mean, for way too long, people who are anything but straight have been portrayed to be promiscuous, depraved, and predatorial. And that is an ugly, devastating stereotype that has obvious real-world implications. And in fact, many people have lost their lives due to propaganda like this, having, thoughts put in your head that just because someone isn't straight, isn't cis, that they're like of the devil or something. well, yeah, that's really dangerous. And I truly believe there are more voices speaking out and living their truth and being proud of who they are. Then maybe we'll help some people understand a little better, or at least silence a group of people who are calling for violence upon us. Yeah, that was just my thoughts, just my opinion, and just my video. So if you like this video, then you can leave it a like, and if you like me, then you can subscribe to this channel where I will be talking about whatever I want, whenever I want, because this is my channel. And that's what we do here, baby. So subscribe! As always, chulas, I hope that you are having a beautiful, wonderful, amazing rest of your day. Bye!